And he marketed those as both, and I always love this when the exploitation guys do this, he would market it on weekends as exploitation films and on weekdays as educational films that he would sell to the schools. And so the exploitation films that can double as education films, I always thought that was the genius. That was the genius of filmmakers. But those were like Faces of Death, in that they were shunned everywhere. You know, people didn't think you should watch elephants having sex, and children shouldn't see that. And so if you make the argument, no, our children need to see this. This is part of their education. You might win, and occasionally you would go into a school and they would show it. And the kids would think it was cool.
Blood Harvest is the name of the Tiny Tim movie, I think.
Blood Harvest, very good. Yeah, that is the name of it. Blood Harvest.
Any other questions from anybody? Way in the back.
Yeah.
Who are some of your favorite people from the industry to hang out with, you know, outside of the work?
People that I regularly see.
Just, you know, somebody you'd like to have a beer with or whatever.
Yeah, well, I'm based in New York, so I see Frank Henenlotter a lot. Frank Henenlotter, who made Basket Case and all of its sequels and a few other movies. And in fact, it's the 30th anniversary of Basket Case, and I'm going to do 2 special screenings with Frank. I think we're going to get a lot of the cast back too, one in New York and one in New Jersey. Kevin Van Hentenryck, the star of Basket Case, is today a famous sculptor. Works in huge wood and stone. And he lives in some place like Woodstock or somewhere. And he made the giant, he used 8 tons of bluestone to make the giant Rip Van Winkle that's going to be installed on top of Hunter Mountain. I don't know how they're going to get it up there, but so the 2 things that he's going to celebrate this year are completion of his giant Rip Van Winkle and the 30th anniversary of Basket Case. And actually we're going to set him up so that as soon as he walks in the room, everyone says, "What's in the basket?" So, anyway, so I see Frank Henenlotter. I see Bill Lustig, who made Maniac and Maniac Cop and many other films. He also lives in New York. He's also the owner of Blue Underground. He goes back and forth between New York and LA. I occasionally see Roger Corman, who is, you know, approaching his 85th birthday, I think. And his wife Julie Corman, who's still a producer of many films. Roger's still a producer. He still makes those USA creature movies, you know. And I mean, who else do I see in the industry? I mean, I see all the people that come to the conventions, and I see I know everybody. It's just who's around. People come and go, you know.
Yeah. Any other questions for anybody? You good? Yeah.
Was this your persona to begin with, or did you start off as something else?
Joe Bob Briggs?
Yeah.
You know, I originally started Joe Bob Briggs as a newspaper column, so it was purely literary, and it was a nom de plume, and the author was unknown. The author was hidden. But in the modern world, you cannot hide for long. People will find you out. And so I was trying to do a thing that emulated an alter ego like Mark Twain and Ambrose Bierce did in the 19th century, and sort of revive that tradition in journalism. But you know, people show up with cameras. You know, they want to know who's writing this thing. So I had a brief period where people were speculating about who writes it and everything, but finally it all broke loose, and in a very spectacular way. And so I had to become Joe Bob, but Joe Bob is just an exaggeration of things, I would say anyway. So I'm not. So it's not a pure alter ego. It is an alternate ego, but it's not it's not the opposite of what I believe. It's just an exaggerated version of what I would say anyway.
Any other questions from anybody? No? I have one last question. With such a long career and successful career, have you regretted anything?
Have I regretted anything? I mean, I've probably regretted 100 things, but you know, no. I mean, it's like I can't regret anything because I never had a very good plan to begin with, and so you know, I didn't plan to be on the movie channel. I didn't plan to be on TNT. I didn't plan to. When I started doing the column, we didn't think the column would last a month. You know, much less, we thought it'd be killed by the editors. And so, and it had a very checkered career. I mean, I think I was the only syndicated columnist. I was syndicated for many years, but I was syndicated at like 5 or 6 different syndicates, you know, because I was always jumping, you know. So, no, I don't regret anything. I wish there had been more time to write more books, because a lot of the, I mean, it's great that there are 1,000 horror websites, and it's also bad because the quality of the reporting and the quality of the research and the quality of the criticism in most cases is not that high. It's people repeating the same things over and over again. And so I wish there were a little bit more of a curatorial, is that a word? I wish there was a little bit more of a what do you call it, a filter that you have to pass through, so that there would be more authoritative information on the genre. And I feel this way. The next thing I'm gonna do, by the way, which we haven't mentioned, is I'm gonna be producing a lot of movies. If any of you have a spec script, please send it to me. We've reviewed 800 or 900 scripts so far, but we're going to be producing quite a few horror movies, and one of the reasons I'm doing it is that there are a lot of the technology to make movies has gotten ridiculously cheap in the last 10 years, which is a great thing, because it means, and I always thought, if we have 10,000 more movies each year than we had before, and only 0.1% of those movies are good, then we've gotten better. Well, unfortunately, 0.1% of those new movies have not turned out to be good. We're not having a very good ratio, and I think the reason is what happened is when the technology became cheap, we threw out the studio model. And the studio model had been developed for very good reasons. There's a reason that you have a producer. There's a reason that you rarely have a writer-director. You have a writer and you have a director. And you have an art department. And you have certain rules that you follow. And the producer puts all these elements together and he makes them work together. And all these are things that don't cost money. They're just common sense. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to produce. I'm not going to write the movies. I'm not going to direct the movies. I'm not going to act in the movies. I'm not going to influence the movies in any way, except I'm going to put very, 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 very talented people who are smarter than me, together in various combinations to make great movies at a very low cost. So all the things I'm doing are things that don't cost any money. Anybody could do them, but we don't. we don't have the number of great movies that we should have at these really, really, really low prices that we now have for cameras and film. We don't even have film. So we don't have to buy film anymore. So cameras and everything else that it takes to go into a movie. So I'm going to be producing a lot.
And don't forget to visit Joe Bob at his table this weekend. And also, if you're interested in the filmmaking and have a script, go to joebobbriggs.com.
Or just send it to scripts@joebobbriggs.com.
There you go.
Yeah.
And everyone, thank you for coming. And